I never thought inheriting something would feel like a curse. When my uncle Robert passed away, the whole family gathered in his old attorney's office for the reading of the will. I wasn't expecting much. Robert was my dad's younger brother, a man who lived most of his life in New Jersey, running a small chain of repair shops. At least, that's what I thought. I barely talked to him. Maybe a few times at Christmas when I was a kid, or on the phone once or twice when he called my dad. But to me, he was just the quiet uncle, the one who didn't have kids, who always seemed a little apart from the rest of us. So when the lawyer cleared his throat and said, "To my nephew, Daniel, I leave 50% ownership of my business," I almost laughed. My mom gasped. My dad stiffened. And my cousins? They all turned to look at me like I had just stolen something right out of their pockets. I wanted to protest. I didn't even want this. I had my own life. I worked in IT, I lived in a small apartment in Brooklyn, and my biggest responsibility was keeping my cat alive. But in that moment, I became half owner of my uncle's company. After the reading, my dad pulled me aside. His face was tight, like he was holding something back. "Listen, Daniel," he said quietly, almost like he didn't want anyone else to hear. Don't make any rash decisions about the business just yet." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Just trust me. Call me before you do anything. Promise me that." I promised, but confusion ate at me. Why was he acting so nervous? It was just a repair shop business, right? The next week, I drove down to Jersey to meet with Robert's business partner, a man named Salvatore, though everyone called him Sal. He was in his 50s, balding, with a thick gold chain around his neck and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The office smelled like motor oil and stale coffee. "Danny boy," he greeted me, slapping my back like we'd been friends forever. "Welcome to the family business." I sat down across from him, trying to look like I belonged there. Papers were stacked high on the desk. Invoices, receipts, and something else. Envelopes stuffed with cash. I couldn't stop staring at them. "So," I said slowly, "how does this all work?" Sal leaned back, grinning. "Simple. We got 3 shops across Jersey. Customers bring in cars. We fix them. They pay. Easy." But the way he said it, too casual, too rehearsed. My IT brain picked up on details, things that didn't add up. Why was so much cash sitting around? Why were half the invoices written by hand when the other half looked fake? Later that day, I walked the floor of one of the shops. Mechanics worked on cars, sure, but half of them didn't even look like real customers. One guy drove in a brand new black SUV with no plates, handed over keys, didn't sign anything, and just walked out. A mechanic pulled it straight to the back without a word. I felt my stomach twist. Something wasn't right. That night, I called my dad. "Dad, what the hell did Uncle Robert leave me?" Silence. Then a sigh. "I was hoping you wouldn't notice right away," he muttered. "Notice what?" "Dad, this business doesn't make sense. There's cash everywhere, shady paperwork, cars coming in with no plates." "Daniel, listen to me carefully," he interrupted. "Don't ask questions. Don't dig into it. Just sign your share over to Sal and walk away. That's what's best for you." My chest tightened. "You're saying this business isn't legit, aren't you?" He didn't answer, and that silence told me more than words ever could. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those envelopes of cash. I heard the sound of that SUV engine disappearing into the garage. My uncle wasn't just running repair shops. He was running something darker. And now, whether I wanted to or not, I was a part of it. But here's the thing. Part of me couldn't let it go. I wanted answers. I wanted to know why Robert chose me. Out of everyone in the family, why did I get pulled into this? So instead of walking away, I went back the next day. And that's when I noticed a door in the back of the shop, locked, with a keypad. Mechanics came and went, but nobody touched that door. Sal never mentioned it. I couldn't stop staring at it. And I knew, whatever was behind that door, it was the real reason my uncle left me the business. The next morning, I pulled into the lot before anyone else had arrived. The repair shop was quiet, almost too quiet. The faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzed above me, and I stood there staring at that locked door in the back like it was calling my name. I walked closer, pretending to check out the cars lined up, but my eyes kept darting back to the keypad. My uncle must have known I'd find it eventually. Maybe that was the point. Maybe that was why he left me part of this business. Not because he trusted me to run it, but because he wanted me to uncover something. "Early bird, huh?" A voice broke the silence. I spun around and saw Sal leaning against a truck, sipping his coffee like he'd been watching me the whole time. Couldn't sleep, I muttered. He smirked. Yeah, I get that. First week is always the roughest. Too many numbers, too many moving parts. But you'll get the hang of it. I forced a smile, but my eyes flicked to the keypad again. Sal noticed. His smirk faded just a little. Stay away from that door, Danny boy, he said, his voice low and sharp now. That's storage. Nothing for you in there. I nodded quickly, acting casual, but inside my chest pounded. The way he said it. Too defensive, too fast. He was hiding something. Later that day, while the mechanics worked, I lingered around, asking casual questions, trying not to seem suspicious. One younger guy, maybe 19, slipped up. Don't worry, man, he whispered when Sal wasn't around. It's not on you. None of us get access back there either. That's where the real stuff happens. I froze. What do you mean, the real stuff? But before he could answer, Sal shouted his name from across the floor, and the kid bolted like he'd been caught. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I called my cousin Mark, someone I trusted, someone who didn't even know I'd inherited anything. Mark, I whispered into the phone. Do you know anything about Uncle Robert's shops? Like, what he was really into? Mark laughed nervously. Oh, come on, Danny. Everyone knew Uncle Rob was shady. He always had money, but nobody ever saw customers at his shops. I figured he was laundering cash or something. Why? I rubbed my temples. Because I think I'm in the middle of it now. He left me half of it. And Sal is running things like he owns the world. Mark whistled. If I were you, I'd walk away. Sell your share, take the money, and run. That kind of thing. It never ends well. But I couldn't. Not yet. Something inside me wouldn't let go. The following day, I decided to test Sal. I asked him for the books, the official records. He gave me a binder full of neatly typed spreadsheets, every number looking perfect, every receipt logged like it came from a textbook. Too perfect. See, he said, grinning wide. Nothing to worry about. But I noticed one thing. The dates didn't line up. The supposed income for March was almost identical to February's. Same round numbers, same expenses. It was a copy-paste job. That night, I drove back again, this time after midnight. My heart hammered in my chest as I parked across the street, lights off. The shop was dark, except for one faint glow near the back. Someone was inside. I crept closer, keeping low. Through the crack of a side window, I saw Sal and two other men I didn't recognize. They weren't fixing cars. They were unloading crates from a van, heavy wooden boxes stamped with shipping codes. Sal barked orders, his gold chain glinting under the single hanging bulb. And then I saw it. One of the crates cracked open, revealing rows of black handguns neatly wrapped in plastic. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a trash bin. My uncle hadn't just been laundering money. He'd been running guns. I barely made it back to my car without being seen. My hands shook as I fumbled with the keys. All I could think was, I needed proof. If I was going to get out of this alive, and maybe even take Sal down with me, I needed evidence. But who could I trust? The cops? What if they were in on it? My dad. He clearly already knew something, and he'd told me to walk away. The next morning, I showed up like nothing had happened. Sal clapped me on the back, offered me coffee, and talked about expansion like we were planning to open a fourth shop. The whole time, I smiled and nodded, but inside I was screaming. At lunch, I slipped into the back office. I searched drawers, flipped through papers, checked behind filing cabinets. Nothing. Cleaned out. Too clean. And then I saw it. A small key card taped underneath the desk. My heart skipped. Without thinking, I grabbed it and slipped it into my pocket. That evening, when everyone had left, I stayed behind. I walked straight to the locked door, my palms sweating. The keypad blinked red. I swiped the card. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light turned green and the lock clicked. The door swung open to a narrow staircase leading underground. Cold air rushed up to meet me, carrying the metallic tang of oil and something else, gunpowder. I descended slowly, each creak of the steps echoing like a gunshot in the silence. At the bottom, I found a concrete room lined with shelves. Not just guns, ammunition, explosives, stacks of cash in duffel bags. It was an arsenal. I backed away, trying to breathe, when I heard footsteps above me. Someone else was coming down. My chest seized with panic. If Sal caught me here, it was over. I froze at the sound of footsteps above. My first thought was to run deeper into the underground room. maybe hide behind one of the shelves stacked with crates. But then the creaking grew louder, and the shadow of a man stretched across the wall of the staircase. I ducked behind a stack of boxes, holding my breath so hard my lungs burned. My heart pounded so loudly I swore whoever it was could hear it. The steps grew heavier, slower, like whoever was descending was being careful. A flashlight beam swept across the room. I crouched lower, pressing myself against the cold concrete wall. The light hovered dangerously close to me, then moved on. It was Sal. His thick voice echoed down the stairs. "I know someone's been poking around," he muttered, almost to himself. "And if they're stupid enough to come down here, they won't be walking back up." I bit my lip to stop it from trembling. My palms were slick with sweat. Sal circled the room slowly, his flashlight bouncing off the guns, the stacks of cash, the crates marked with foreign stamps. He stopped for a moment, scanning the shelves, and then kicked a duffel bag like he was making sure it hadn't been moved. I stayed frozen until finally, mercifully, he turned and trudged back up the stairs. The door slammed shut above me, and I exhaled so hard I nearly collapsed. I knew then I couldn't wait any longer. I needed proof, yes, but I also needed a way out. The next day, I acted normal, smiled, nodded, pretended like I was getting more comfortable in the role my uncle had left me. Inside, though, I was building a plan. During lunch, I went back down, quick, precise, phone camera in hand. I snapped as many photos as I could. The crates, the labels, the weapons, the money. My hands shook, but the images were clear. That night, I emailed them to Mark with a short message. Asterisk, if something happens to me, show this to the cops. Asterisk. He called me immediately. "Danny, what the hell is this? Are you insane?" "It's real," I whispered. "Uncle Rob was running this the whole time. Sal's in charge now. I don't know how deep it goes, but I can't just walk away." "You can and you should," Mark hissed. "This is not your fight. They will kill you." "Maybe. But if I sell my share now, I'm dead anyway. They'll know I saw too much. The only way out is through." The following week, Sal called me into his office. He leaned back in the chair, his gold watch glinting in the light. "You've been quiet," he said, narrowing his eyes. "That good or bad?" I forced a smile. "Just learning the ropes." He chuckled, but his eyes stayed cold. "Good. Keep learning. But remember, Danny, loyalty matters more than blood. Your uncle knew that. You'd better know it too." I nodded, hiding the chill crawling up my spine. That night, as I lay awake, I realized something even darker. Sal didn't just want me to stay silent. He wanted to bring me in. Slowly, carefully, he was testing me, seeing if I'd keep my mouth shut, seeing if I had the stomach to be part of this. And part of me wondered, was that what my uncle had wanted to? To pass this on, not to free me, but to trap me? The next time I went down into the basement, I noticed something new. A ledger, left carelessly on a desk near the shelves. My pulse quickened as I flipped it open. Names, addresses, payments. Not just local, but international. This wasn't a small-time operation. This was a pipeline. I snapped more photos, each page heavier than the last. And then I saw my own name. Asterisk Daniel Carter, co-owner. Asterisk. My stomach dropped. My signature was forged at the bottom of several documents. Transactions I'd never signed off on. Paper trails leading straight to me. Sal wasn't just keeping me close. He was setting me up. I stumbled back, my breath ragged. My uncle hadn't given me a gift. He'd handed me a ticking time bomb. The next morning, I confronted my dad. "You knew," I accused, slamming the photos on his kitchen table. "You knew what Uncle Robert was into. You knew he left me this mess." My dad's face went pale. He rubbed his temples. "Danny, I told him not to. I begged him not to drag you in. But he said you were the only one smart enough to handle it. To survive it." "Survive?" I barked. He set me up to take the fall. "My name is all over this." My dad's eyes filled with something I'd never seen before, fear. "Then you need to leave. Tonight. Get out of New York. Don't look back." But it was already too late. That evening, as I was locking up the shop, Sal appeared in the doorway, flanked by two men I didn't recognize. Big, armed, their eyes cold as steel. "Long day, huh?" Sal said, his smile wide and fake. "Let's grab a drink. We've got business to discuss." Every instinct screamed at me to run. But I forced a smile, grabbed my coat, and followed him out into the night, knowing this was the point of no return. The bar wasn't really a bar. From the street, It looked like a place you'd take your dad for a beer, with paneling, neon signs for brands no one buys anymore, a hand-lettered chalkboard with a meatball special. Inside, though, the noise from the front faded fast, swallowed by a hallway that led to a door with a brass plate that said private. One of Sal's guys, the taller one with the dead eyes, knocked twice, and then once more. The lock clicked. The back room had no windows. A card table, two mismatched couches, a TV in the corner playing a game with the sound off. It smelled like old smoke and furniture polish. Sal waved me to a chair and poured whiskey without asking. "To family," he said, raising his glass. I lifted mine because what else was I going to do? The whiskey burned in a way that felt deliberate. "We don't need to be enemies, Danny," Sal said, settling into the opposite chair. "You got brains. Your uncle knew it. He told me." "He told you to put my name on documents I've never seen?" I asked before I could stop myself. His smile didn't flicker. "Paperwork is paperwork. What matters is trust." He tipped his head at me, like he was looking over a chessboard. "And you? You look like a guy who doesn't know who to trust." I kept my face blank. "Depends who's asking." He laughed, but his eyes stayed cold. "Let's make this simple. You keep your mouth shut, sign when we need a signature, and you make more money than your IT job could cough up in 10 lifetimes. In return, we keep you safe. We keep your old man safe." He let that hang there. "We keep things quiet." "My dad," I said, careful. "Why would he need to be kept safe?" "Because he's got a big heart," Sal said, like he was paying a compliment. "And sometimes big hearts talk too much when they're scared." I looked down at my glass so he couldn't see my jaw clench. "You're threatening my father." "Not a threat," he said, spreading his hands. "An understanding." Behind him, the taller guy shifted his weight and cracked his knuckles. The other one, thick-necked and bored, watched me like he was waiting for a cue. I set the glass down. "You said my uncle talked about me. What else did he say?" Sal's smile widened. "Said your old man taught him numbers. Said your old man used to be the one who made the books sing. Back before he grew a conscience." He leaned forward. "You didn't know that part, huh?" My stomach dipped, like an elevator that missed a floor. "No," I said. "Good guy. Your dad," Sal went on, almost fond. "But he got soft. Rob needed somebody who could stomach it." He tapped his own chest. "Enter me." The room felt smaller. I pictured my dad at our kitchen table, the way his hands had shaken when he told me to leave town. Loyalty matters more than blood, Sal had said earlier. Maybe my father already knew that from the wrong side. "What do you need from me?" I asked, "tonight." Sal held up two fingers. "Easy. First, you put your name where your name belongs." He nodded at the thick-necked guy, who produced a clipboard with forms clipped to it. "Shipping manifests. Inventory. Nothing crazy." "And second," he smiled, "you take a little drive. Show me you're part of the team." "A drive? A test?" I let out a slow breath and nodded. "Fine," I said, "but I need to use the bathroom first." The tall guy frowned. Sal shrugged. "He's not an animal." Down the hall, the bathroom was clean in a way that said someone had scrubbed it recently and often. I locked the door and pulled my phone from my pocket. Battery at 38%. I opened voice memos and hit record, then slid the phone into my sock, screen down, mic pointing out. I turned on location sharing to Mark, then typed a message with the slow precision of someone defusing a bomb. Asterisk Sal test. Van. If I don't reply in 1 hour, send everything. Asterisk. I hit send. For 2 seconds, nothing happened. Then his bubble popped up. Asterisk got it. Where? Asterisk. I sent the location. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. Asterisk I'm 10 minutes out. Do not be a hero. Asterisk. I stared at the words, then slipped the phone back into my sock and washed my hands because I needed the sound of water to make me feel like I was still in a world where normal things happened. Back in the room, Sal was on the phone, speaking softly in a language I didn't recognize. He hung up when he saw me and slid the clipboard across the table. Names, dates, routing numbers. The same handwriting from the ledger in the basement. At the bottom, a line marked CO owner's signature. I picked up the pen. You do realize my signature is worthless if I wasn't present for the inventory. He grinned. What does present mean, really? I signed. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed him to believe I could be led. If I balked here, he'd take me downstairs somewhere I wouldn't be coming back from. We left through a service door that opened into an alley that smelled like garbage and wet cardboard. A white cargo van idled at the curb, back doors closed, driver's side empty. The tall guy handed me keys. "Docks," Sal said. "Pier 17. Bay 3. You'll see a red light above the door. Back in, leave it running, guys will unload. You don't get out of the van. You don't talk to anyone." "And if I get pulled over?" I asked. He smiled with his eyes this time, which made me like him less. "You won't. But if you do, you're a co-owner making a late delivery for a charity event. There's a clipboard in the glove compartment with a list of gently used tires you're supposedly donating." "What's really in the back?" I asked, even though I already knew. He tilted his head. "You don't want to know." The tall guy leaned in close enough that I could smell mint gum over cigarettes. "You try anything cute. We'll be at your dad's place before you can say sorry." I swallowed. "Understood." I climbed into the van. The cabin was clean, almost new. The steering wheel still had the matte stickiness of a factory finish. The glove box produced exactly what Sal said it would: a clipboard with a fake donation sheet and a pin attached with twine. Tucked underneath, a backup phone with no case and a cracked screen. Burners on burners. I put the van in drive. In the side mirror, Sal lifted his glass to me, like we were still just two guys at a bar toasting family. The tall guy watched me go with a predator's patience. I turned onto the main road, and the city swallowed me. It was late enough that the traffic moved, but early enough that there were still people out in coats, couples holding coffee cups, a guy dragging a suitcase behind him with a busted wheel that squeaked in protest. Every red light felt like a test I was failing too fast or too slow. At a long light near the highway entrance, my dad called. I let it ring once, twice, and then answered on speaker. The phone balanced on my thigh. "Where are you?" he asked, voice tight. "Working late," I said. "Taking a drive." "Danny." He took a breath so loud I could picture him pinching the bridge of his nose like he did when I came home past curfew at 16. "Don't go to the docks." "Kind of past the recommendation stage," I said. "How did you know?" He exhaled. "Because that's how they bring you in. Rob did it to me the first week I helped him with the numbers. Said it was just paperwork." Next thing I knew, I was sitting in a warehouse watching men unload boxes and thinking, I can't unknow this. "You worked the books for him," I said. It wasn't a question. "I fixed them," he said, voice a notch above a whisper, like he thought someone might be listening. "I got out when I realized what I was fixing. Your uncle told me he'd keep you out of it." He swore. His voice cracked on the last word. "If you're in a van right now, listen to me. Don't stop at the gate. Don't argue. Drive to the end of the pier and keep going straight like you missed the bay. There's a chain link break near the far end, open enough to turn around. There'll be a boat tied off. Small one. If you have to, ditch the van and jump on. The owner's an old friend. He'll get you across the river. I'll meet you there." "You're asking me to run," I said. "I'm asking you to live," he said. The light turned green. A horn blared behind me. I pulled forward. "If I run," I said, "they'll come to you." "I'm not as easy a target as I look," he said, a flash of the old pride in his voice. "Do what I'm telling you." I hung up before I could change my mind. My phone buzzed again. "Mark. Asterisk at your pin. I'm 2 cars behind. Don't look. Asterisk." I checked the rear view anyway. A beat-up blue Civic 3 lengths back, headlights off, then on, then off again. Subtle like a marching band, but he was here. The highway exit for the docks approached like a mouth of a tunnel. I took it, and the world changed. The air got colder, the streetlights farther apart, the smell of salt and diesel and old wood replacing exhaust and fried food. Warehouses loomed like sleeping animals. The van's headlights washed over stacks of shipping containers painted in colors that used to be bright. A guard shack appeared on the right, window fogged, a space heater glowing red inside. A man stepped out, hand up, palm toward me. I slowed, heart hammering. He leaned down to the window. "Delivery." I held up the clipboard with the fake tire list and tried to look bored. "Bay 3. Red light." He squinted at the paper like he could read in the dark. "Never heard of it. Who's your contact?" "Sal," I said, and the name worked like a badge. His face opened. He stepped back and waved me through. "Go ahead. Red light's up." I rolled forward, pulse beating in my throat. Bay 3 was exactly where Sal said it would be. Corrugated door, chipped red paint around the edges, a single bulb above it glowing like the last light in a bad dream. No movement. No shadows. Just the slow lap of black water against old pilings and the distant clank of metal on metal. I lined the van up with the bay, foot on the brake. My father's voice in my head, "Don't stop at the gate. Drive to the end. Chain link brake." I should have gone. I should have listened. But I thought, if I run now, I run forever. If I back in, maybe I get something useful. Maybe I buy time. I put the van in reverse and eased it toward the bay. The red bulb flickered. Halfway back, the door began to roll up with a metal rattle that made my teeth ache. A sliver of darkness became a mouth. I stopped with the rear bumper inches from the threshold. I kept the engine running. The back doors were still closed. I stared in the side mirror. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a shape detached itself from the shadows inside. A man stepped into the rectangle of light. He wasn't one of Sal's. He wasn't one of the guys from the shop. He was thinner, older, wearing a pea coat that had seen too many winters. He raised both hands, empty. "Daniel," he said. His voice carried strangely in the open air. "Don't turn the engine off." Every hair on my neck lifted. He knew my name. He took another step, palms still up, like he was trying not to spook a wild animal. "Who are you?" I called through the window. "Call me a friend of your uncle's," he said. "He told me this day might come." My stomach dropped. "My uncle is dead," I said. He nodded once, the kind of nod people give at graves. "He left things behind. Things you'll need if you're going to walk away from this alive." In the mirror, the blue Civic rolled to a stop 2 bays down and killed its lights. "Mark." I tried to breathe in a way that didn't show. "What things?" I asked. He motioned toward the dark inside of the bay. "A box. Locked. With your name on it. I can't carry it out there without making this look like a theft. You have to back in." It was insane. It was also the only sliver of a plan I'd been offered all night. "Why should I trust you?" I asked. He half smiled. No warmth. "Because the other option is trusting Sal." A gull cried somewhere, shrill and mean. The red bulb buzzed. Far off, a horn moaned. The long, low call of a ship that didn't care about the small lives happening on the dock. I looked at the mouth of the bay. I looked at the chain-link fence at the far end of the pier, where a section sagged like a pulled tooth. I looked at the black water beyond it, the kind that takes and doesn't give back. I eased my foot off the brake. The van crept backward. "Slow," the man said. "Good." Metal squealed as the bumper crossed the threshold. Cold air surged into the cabin. The mouth of the bay became a throat. My side mirrors filled with darkness. I could no longer see the open dock behind me. Only concrete, and the man, and the thin halo of the red bulb now more above than outside. "Back left a touch," he said softly. "Good. Stop there." I stopped. I didn't put it in park. He stepped closer to the driver's window, close enough that I could see a scar near his jaw, white against gray stubble. Up close, his eyes were tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he said, and for a second I froze. Then realized he was looking past me, not at me. His gaze flicked to the passenger side rear view. "Don't move," he whispered. In the mirror, 2 figures peeled off from the darkness farther inside the warehouse. Not Sal's men. Not the man at the windows. Different. Clean jackets, stiff posture, the careful walk of people who carry rules with their guns. One lifted a hand, palm down, a signal to wait. The man at my window didn't turn. "This is about to get loud," he said under his breath, like he was telling me something small, like the time or the weather. "When it does, do exactly what I tell you, or you'll never make it out of this bay." Before I could answer, the red bulb above us went dark with a pop, like a candle pinched between fingers. The warehouse swallowed the last of the light. Somewhere behind my rear doors, feet hit concrete fast. A shout, the scrape of metal on metal as someone yanked a chain. The rolling door began to come down, fast, rattling like a train. "Go," the man said, voice flat now, a command given 1,000 times. "Reverse hard. Now." I threw the van into reverse and stomped the pedal. The engine growled. The van lurched backward. The top edge of the rolling door dropped faster, faster, the gap shrinking, a slit of night becoming a letterbox, and then a mouth, and then. I didn't know if I'd make it. I didn't know who the men inside were or which side the man at my window belonged to, or if my father was waiting on a boat that existed. All I knew was that the door was falling and, for one heartbeat, the world narrowed to a line of darkness I had to get through before it closed forever. The boat cut through the black water, the engine growling low as if even it didn't want to draw attention. My hands shook so badly I could barely keep my grip on the wheel, and every time I blinked, I saw the muzzle flash from behind us, the way the bullet had torn the van's door. The scarred man sat across from me, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the horizon like none of this fazed him. Mark was behind me, breathing hard, whispering something over and over. At first I thought he was praying, but then I caught it. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. I wanted to snap at him, tell him to shut up, but my voice just wouldn't work. Finally, I forced out, "Where are we going?" The scarred man looked at me for the first time since we'd pulled away from the dock. His eyes were pale gray, colder than the water around us. "Where he wanted you to go," he said. "Your uncle planned this. The business, the accounts, the people chasing us right now. It was all part of something bigger. And now it's yours." My stomach dropped. I didn't want this. I didn't even know what this was. "What do you mean, mine?" I asked. My voice cracked. He leaned forward, close enough that I could smell the salt spray on his jacket. "Robert trusted only one person in this family. And it wasn't your father. It wasn't your cousins. It was you." For a moment, the only sound was the slap of the waves against the hull. Mark grabbed my shoulder. "Daniel, don't listen to him. We need to go to the police. We need to get out of this now." But the scarred man shook his head, almost pitying. "Police won't help you. They're already bought." I stared at the horizon, heart pounding. I had inherited more than a business. I had inherited a secret world, one that could eat me alive if I made the wrong move. And sitting there, with the night wind stinging my face, I realized I had a choice: run from it, or step into it. But what would you do if you were me?